call our council meeting to order. All of our council members are present, and we're going to invite Ben Stanley to lead us in the pledge, and then Diana Anderson, if you'd offer opening remarks.
Invite the audience to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
At this time.
Amen.
Thank you. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are not, but when we get to the consent items, Marty has something he needs to bring up to you.
Okay. In addition to?
Just a clarification on one item, one
Okay.
of the consent items.
All right. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Make the motion that we approve the agenda as written. Second.
We have a motion by Ben, a second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, we'll now have an open session. If any of you would like to comment on something that's not on the agenda or is not a public hearing, please feel free to step forward and state your name.
Sorry.
That's okay, Lori.
Lori Williams. And I would like to address a recurring issue and would please request that my words will reflect verbatim in the approved minutes for tonight's council meeting. A policy and procedure manual has been put in effect, so why does it only get followed and implemented when it's advantageous to some select people? Policy and procedures are supposed to provide straightforward guidance, clear expectations, and as a principle of good governing. So I ask again, what's the point if the majority of our elected officials and city attorney willingly and knowingly defy them? I would ask that we follow the very rules that we have been put in place. The leadership in our city are to be held to a higher standard, and by deliberately disobeying their own guidelines, it is a violation of public trust in an already tenuous situation onset by this common breach of ethics. In the policy procedure manual concerning work sessions, it states, no final action may be taken in a work session. This was ignored September 13th, February 28th, August 8th, September 12th. On July 27th, a special meeting was called to rescind a resolution, a legislative action that was already taken place in an attempt to block citizens' legal right to be directly involved with their government. Finally, on August 31st, the city called an alleged emergency meeting of the Planning Commission with only a few hours' notice instead of the 24 hours. This claimed emergency was self-inflicted as a failure to follow local ordinance despite several warnings from citizens and lawyers that the city was ignoring its own laws. So many run for office without really understanding the rules and don't operate or live within those limitations. Overstepping and brazenly ignoring standards and laws are frequently done. An example is when they huddle after council meeting as a quorum for discussions. I, along with many others, have witnessed it week after week, and frequently with our city attorney as a willing participant. Last week, myself and two other citizens witnessed an appointed planning commissioner walk 50 feet from a special interest project he's building and visit with 3 council members, a quorum, for 20 minutes. Oh. There. The legal quorum. I'm not talking about a chance gathering. This was not a chance gathering. After a council meeting once, I watched as Councilwoman Lamone directly mock and taunt us and told us to take a picture. We aren't a quorum, and jumped in the car laughing. It was a quorum. I wanted to make sure I was following proper procedure, and I was able to speak with the leading authority, David Church, with the Utah League of Cities and Towns, who has written extensively about open meeting laws. I ask that our city set an example and follow the very laws that they helped create. And please, just stop breaking the law.
Okay. If you want to submit your words to Kathy, then she can include them. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the open session and come back up here. Before we approve the consent items, we'll let Marty explain what he needs to.
Item E of the consent agenda items is to consider approval of pay request number 4 and change order number 1 for the 4,000 North Sewer Project for Silver Spur Construction. In completing this project, we had a few issues arise. The project has now been completed, finally. We had some issues with some settlement that occurred in some of the trenches on the sewer main, and over that time, we've been trying to get the road repaired properly, which ended up there being a number of cuts in the road that were not what we desired. So we worked with them. We did also ask them to do some extensive work to get that repaired, and then ask them to pay a cash payment as well to help us seal the road up when we're done, as well as we've asked for an extended 3-year warranty on the project rather than the typical 1-year warranty on the project. We are still waiting for an acceptable 3-year warranty. They've been having some issues with their surety company of giving that on the project. They're intending to do that. So this payment would be, we're recommending it be conditional upon receiving an acceptable 3-year warranty for the project. And so we're making that as part of the condition so that they know they need to do that before they can be paid.
Is that D?
Item E.
E. So on my agenda, item E is for the paid vouchers.
Are we,
Do I have a?
are you
is it-
looking at the amended city council agenda?
Yes. So it's the item E, the consent items, to consider approval of pay request and change order for the 4,000 North Sewer Project, right?
Yeah, that's not what I,
Oh. Okay.
I don't have that one on mine. Why don't we make that a separate item? And let's go ahead and approve these, and then we'll handle that one separately. Okay. So for the agenda that we have in front of us, I'm assuming all of us have the same agenda?
So Kathy, do they have,
We all have the same one.
Electronically, they have it, but not.
well, what they have in front of them is not the amended agenda? Okay.
Printed off the wrong one.
Yeah.
I can make them.
I have the agenda here, Mayor, if you want me to bring it over to you.
Is it a time-sensitive one, Marty?
Yes, we want this project to be done.
What was
I don't know why there's
published
an issue.
to the public?
The amended
Yeah.
agenda.
The
She
amended
just printed
agenda?
that.
Okay, we'll go off the amended agenda. Yeah, go ahead and make a motion. No, we don't need a separate.
All right, we're going to make a motion to approve the consent items tonight, as discussed by Marty on item E.
Second.
We have a motion by Eric and a second by Diana. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we are down to board commission appointments. We've had a few this last couple of weeks. 7A is to consider the approval of Stephanie Maxwell as a Historic Preservation Commission member. Stephanie,
Do you know, Kathy, were they, I don't know whose job it is, but were they notified to come tonight? Or is that the historical committee that's supposed to notify them? Oh, did she know? Okay.
The beautification.
Trent? Okay. All right, perfect. Just want to make sure.
Eileen?
Eileen's here.
Or Eileen, you want to stand up so people can see you?
Come on up, Eileen, to the podium.
And is Trent here, Trent Dyer? I don't see him. Well, go ahead and take a moment and introduce yourself.
If you want. You
Tell them what you told me.
Just talking to the mic right there, so we can hear you.
Well, my name's Eileen Fullenwider, and it's spelled wrong. It's always spelled wrong.
I can't imagine.
It's a catchy little name. You're full and wider, like after you eat, you're full and wider. I don't think you'll forget it now. Anyway, I've lived in Pleasant Grove a couple of years. I'm the grandma in my daughter's basement, and I know your mother's dear friend from Tucson, because we're dear friends, and I was just there to visit her.
Elaine?
Elaine Provenza. Right, I see your name. So, anyway, I'm a retired operating room nurse. I was in the operating room for 50 years, and I just took the master gardening class at Thanksgiving Point, and I loved it. It was something to do, and they've been nice enough to let me do my volunteer hours at the temple. And then I heard about this committee, and actually, the program, the Master Gardener program, actually said you can add your hours that you give to your city to your volunteer program. So maybe I can do something nice rather than just work. But it was a great career. I loved it. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen.
Okay. If there's no questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion
I'll make
on, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, Mayor and Council, that we consider for approval and approve Stephanie Maxwell as a Historic Preservation Commission member. Do you want to do all three together?
Let's do them separately. They're listed separately. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then item B.
And then I'll move that we approve Eileen Fulgenwider and Trent Dyer as Beautification Commission members as well.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ben, a second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. We appreciate the volunteerism. No presentation or public hearing items. Let's go to action items, ready to vote. 10A, to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-40, authorizing the mayor to enter into a cable television franchise agreement between Pleasant Grove City and Comcast Cable Communications Management, LLC, and Comcast of California, Massachusetts, Michigan, Utah, LLC, and providing for an effective date. Tina?
Mayor and Council, the first thing to make sure that is clear is this franchise agreement only deals with cable TV services. We have a very old existing franchise agreement with Comcast from, I believe, dating from 1992. So it's time to update it. Some of the state or some of the federal laws have changed in the meantime. Basically, the franchise agreement grants Comcast Cable Company the right to work in our rights of ways in order to install their utility services for cable TV. In return, we will receive a 5% franchise tax or tax. Included in that is also a small, defined in the gross revenue is another small means of accumulating revenue, including the rental of converters, the applicable percentage of the sale of local and regional advertising time, and any leased access revenues, which is an expansion of their normal language, which we have negotiated and they've agreed to, so it won't amount to a significant increase in the revenues, but it will give us a slight addition to what we would have normally gotten. The term of the agreement is 10 years, which is a standard time. That will make sure that we don't allow it to go 20 years again. I don't think there's anything else that this council needs to be aware of, except that it does provide that in the case of abandonment, if Comcast decides to abandon any of their above-ground facilities, they are required to remove all of those at their own cost. It also provides for them to run utility services to our public buildings, not all of our public buildings, but all of the elementary schools, our fire station, our police station, and our new rec center, which I believe he's indicated we already have the service there. It doesn't apply necessarily to City Hall or any of the other buildings that belong to the city. The other thing you should be aware of is it does include a provision, an equal treatment provision, that in the event that we have some other cable TV service provider that we somehow want here in addition to Comcast, and we negotiate some terms that are more favorable to the new provider, we are obligated to go back and offer the same terms to Comcast. So they just want to be treated equally and have the same percentage of revenues that they have to pay and access
Or decrease?
or decrease. Okay?
Discussion, questions?
The representative is here, Kirk Nord. If you have any questions, he's here to answer them.
Okay.
Okay.
The back? Do you have anything you wanted to say? Okay. Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion that we adopt ordinance 2017. Comcast Cable Communications Management LLC and Comcast of California, Massachusetts, Michigan, Utah LLC, and providing for an effective date.
Motion by Sid, second by Lynn, by voice Lynn.
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Diana.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 10B, to consider for adoption a resolution 2017-055, authorize the mayor to execute 2 agreements with property owners on 900 South regarding reimbursement for public improvements and providing for an effective date. Marty.
Mayor, Council, a few weeks ago, we came before you with 7 agreements with individual property owners on the 900 South project. Since that time, there were 2 property owners that wanted to rediscuss that, and so we did that with them, and there are 2 changes that were made. Out of the 7, there were 2 that we changed. Give me just 1 second. The new computer, so it's having a hard time connecting.
Not as fast as the old one?
It's faster, hopefully, because that one started getting pretty painful. Let me just show you just to clarify. So the Royal West property is the property located, this is 1150 East. This is the church, the Turtle Church, I call it, the one that has all the weird shapes if you look at it on the roof. There's a small piece of property here. He only has about 40 feet of frontage, of which a portion of that is actually city property. The city actually owns this piece here and this piece here. We originally had in there that he would pay $2,600 for that frontage improvements, and he requested that we reduce that down to $2,300 due to some of these improvements. So it's only a $300 change in that. We felt good about it because it is city property. We will be talking about this in the future if they ever develop. We don't have any need for this right-of-way any longer. It was a proposed right-of-way a long time ago, and so we'll deal with that. But that was the change that was made to that contract. was a $300 change. The other change was for the property that is on Locust Avenue and 900 South on that northeast corner. The Winds and Reeds own the property. Originally, we had planned to do curb, gutter, sidewalk, all of those improvements, and they had tentatively approved that. When it got down to it, they said, we can't do that much. It was quite a big cost, so they agreed to do all of the curb and gutter so we could deal with all the drainage. So if you go out there, the curb and gutter from the end of the existing curb that was here is now completed all the way through the frontage of their property. This amended agreement is to do those frontage improvements. They're still paying all the costs. We're just not getting sidewalk along the frontage of all of that. It would have to come at some future date whenever they determine maybe they'll come in for a building permit that requires the improvements to be finished or something of that nature. But we at least can address all of the drainage issues on that section, which is a great benefit for us. So those were the two changes in those agreements that we're recommending to approve. So,
Questions for Marty? Discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion for adoption of Resolution 2017-55 to authorize the mayor to execute two agreements with property owners on 900 South regarding reimbursement for public improvements and providing for an effective date.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric and a second by Lynn. By voice, Diana?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, item C, to consider rejecting the 2018-2020 street preservation microsurface project bid.
Mayor, the next three items are for pavement treatments that we do regularly. The first item is what's called microsurface. It's something we did on 1100 North, for example, last year. We did on Pleasant Grove Boulevard. This is a treatment that's for our higher velocity, higher speed roads, as well as more traffic volume. This year, we were a little bit surprised in the cost, and there's some reasons for that. We've had some discussions with Geneva Rock, who also were the ones that got the last 3-year contract. We were estimating what that would come in as, and it came in much higher for a couple of reasons. Mainly, it's due to the size of the project that we had. We only had about 20,000 square yards of a project this year. So it's a very small project. We have Locust Avenue and a couple other of our collector streets that we wanted to get done. The problem with that is that's about a day's work for them on 3 different streets in 3 different areas of the city. And so by the time they mobilize all of their equipment to those 3 locations, it just added that much cost to the project. So overall, the project's not that much money, but the overall cost wasn't something that we wanted to award at this time. What we're looking at doing is going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, how can we make a bigger project and maybe combine 2 years together in our 3-year road planning, rather than just doing the fiscal year 2018 projects, do the 2018-19 maybe in an August timeframe so we can make them a bigger scale and really reduce the cost on the budget. And so we're, right now, we'll be going back to the drawing board. We're recommending to reject this bid. And I've talked with the contractor, and they're fine with that. They understand the concept here, and we'll go back to the drawing board to come up with a contract that will be more favorable to a cheaper cost, and then probably be back in January to award it to another. We'll put it back out to bid, public bid through the process, and award it probably in the January timeframe. We wouldn't be able to get anything done this fall anyways with that project, so it'll work out well. We'll go for another 3 years on the next contract as well. So
So in cases like that, Marty, is that considered a carryover? Do you carry the money over from year to year?
So on these 3-year contracts, so we've got our 3-year road planning document that we're using, and that funding is all in our Class C funds. So yeah, if the funds carry through in our Class C budgets.
Okay, so it's
we'll
part of a
just do that.
3-year approval.
Right.
So it just stays with us until that expires.
Right. So every year we would be kind of evaluating, and you'll see in these next 2 projects, we determine on the scope of the project every year, and then we work through a change order process to award the next year's projects. So this would have been the same way. We would have done what was bid here. Next year, we would give them the next group of streets, and we've tied down the unit price for the item, and then we would award that as a change order item next year. And so that's how it'll work.
Any other questions for Marty?
Kind of philosophical one, Marty. You and I have already talked about these bids a bit, but does it ever make sense philosophically for us to do these kinds of, like item C, D, and E together with one bid for all three kinds of surface treatments, or is that something we would never entertain?
So microsurface, there's only 3 or 4 contractors that do that type of work. So it's not very common. It's a very particular type of treatment. So it doesn't quite make sense to do it that way because we have different contractors that bid this type of work. So you'll see that in the next one. We got 3 bids on the next project. We got 7 bids on the next project. It makes the most sense for us to individually put these out, work with them to do their specialty work, and I think we get the best price when we do it that way as well.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we reject the 2018-2020 street preservation microsurface project bid.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Diana and a second by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. It is rejected. Okay, item D, to consider awarding the 2018 to 2020 street preservation asphalt seal coat project to Holbrook Asphalt Company, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed and agreement upon receipt of approval of final contract documents.
So this project is our seal coat project. My computer is way slow for some reason. It's still moving. This project is essentially in more of our residential areas. We're doing more of it's called a seal coat. There's 2 types of products that we bid out here. One's called a mastic seal. One's called a high density mineral bond. The last 3-year contract we did was for high density mineral bond. This year we wanted to give more opportunity for another product called mastic seal, which is a little less tested in the area, but is showing some good results, and we went and looked at a few other projects. As you can see in the bid results, if it'll show up on this screen, is it showing up on my screen? What you can see here is we had 3 bidders. Those bidders, there's the high density mineral bond, so you have, I don't know why this is moving, but the high density mineral bond is this line down here. So we gave 2 options in the project. It's fine on my screen. That is weird. And the mastic seal is this line item here. What you can see is that we really only have one contractor that can do the high density mineral bond. And that's why we wanted to do the mastic seal. It gets a little more competition and gives another product option for us. What you see though is that Holbrook Asphalt was the low bidder on both options. And because we have less experience with the mastic seal, what we're recommending on this project is that we award to Holbrook Asphalt the project with the option to do either mastic seal or high density mineral bond. And what this will do for us is that it'll allow us to, based on the road type, will allow us to make the best selection for that type of road. High density mineral bond is really good on a brand new road. It really seals it well, whereas the mastic seal would probably be an equivalent, but we have a lot less history and experience, as well as the longevity of the product hasn't been as tested, but right now it's seeming in the industry that it's a good product. So that's what we're recommending on that one, is that we award it to Holbrook Asphalt with the option to work with them on either high density mineral bond or mastic seal as an application of the seal coat, since they were low bid in both projects.
So I have a question for you. In this case, we're looking at the numbers on the high density mineral bond. It's 85,440, and they're the only ones that can bid it. However, the amount that was competitive, they're coming in at 69,886. Is that right?
So Holbrook asphalt has 69,886 here. If you take this amount here and add it to the mobilization and the traffic control amounts, that's how you come up with that number. So we had two options. It was either option with the mastic seal or an option with the high-density mineral bond. The high-density mineral bond was about 24% higher in costs.
Right. So I guess my real question is, and I might have read the wrong line, this line here is the sum for these.
Correct?
This line here is this other type of material that you're not sure you're going to do. But if we,
Yes.
but if we approve this, the way it's described, does this authorize what would that be, a $15,000, $16,000 variance?
So what we're authorizing is the completion of this amount of work in a quantity, and it can be done by either high-density mineral bond or mastic seal.
At this
As
price?
the product. So it'll be either at that unit price right there, or that unit price right there. And it is a little bit, it's not given a specific dollar amount. It's giving the size of the projects to be done so we can kind of evaluate with them the best application of the product for the road. And so this is unique, Mayor, because normally we have one contractor, they're the low bid, we award the bid. In this situation, we have one contractor who was the low bidder for both options. And what we're hoping for is to have the flexibility to be able to choose the right product with that contractor to get the right product on the road. And we're a lot more experienced with high-density mineral bond, but we definitely want to, this 25% savings is something we want to try. We want to get that experience. If it's a better product or an equal product, then we want to start using that because we're going to be saving 25% of that cost. Right now, we're kind of in this unknown area, and we want to have the ability to kind of select that on different projects. Tina, do you have any concerns with the way that, I mean, we talked about awarding this based on the ability to be able to select the type of treatment. It's not going to be on a dollar amount, because if we do half in one and half in another, the dollar amount's going to change.
Right, so Marty and I discussed this after the bids were open, and he realized that Holbrook was the low bidder on both types of services. And so I feel comfortable with the way he's proposing to do it because they are the low bidder on both. Had there been another bidder that was close, then we would have wanted to rebid it and allow that competition.
So they're not just the low bidder, they're the only bidder on
They're the
item
only
two.
they're the only bidder for the HDMB.
Okay. Okay, other questions?
Yeah, Marty, is this did Provo do that road that we went and checked out in Provo?
Yes.
This is the high density?
So we saw both those products. One was the mastic seal, one was a high-density mineral bond. It was really difficult to see the difference between the two, right? So we're looking at the longevity of the product.
And was that 10 years?
I think they were only in the 3-year range, 3 to 4 year range.
Okay.
On that road. So they still both looked equally good, and that's why we wanted to bid both projects. I think we're in an opportunity to continue to have the option to be able to use the product that we know is good, but be able to test a little bit more of a product that is at a cheaper cost in the industry because it has a lot more competition. And then if it tests out, then in the succeeding years, maybe in year 2 and 3, we're using a little more of that product rather than the high-density mineral bond. But it gives us a little bit of flexibility in doing the right treatment for the road and something that's going to give us the best value for our road system.
Other questions?
Yeah, so ultimately, Marty, we're going to authorize, if we authorize this the way you've requested, then the option is available, then the ultimate discretion will be in your hands, right? You'll be able to pay. Not the
Yes.
vendor, which is apply on any given street.
Correct. We'll work with them to identify the best treatment. The one thing that we have to understand is when a contractor, for example, this mastic seal, that process of laying down is in the same truck, same type of application, right? So these things are pretty equivalent. It's just the type of material. And so there's a little bit of play in there. We can't make that so small that it doesn't make sense to do, because he has to go and wash out that truck, clean it up so we can put the other material in. And so there's a process we'll work with him on, but we feel that it would be best if we could have a little bit of flexibility, especially as we're trying somewhat of a new product, to be able to do that with that contractor. And I think the prices that we're seeing here, so for example, the price of the $155 a square yard for high-density mineral bond is 1 cent more. So it's like a 5% increase what we paid over the last 3-year bid schedule. So we aren't seeing a huge increase in the industry. It's just this other option is coming in a little bit more cost-effective. It's not as high a quality as a product, but it's another thing that we'd like to try and see if it works.
Okay, anybody else? No. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we award the 2018-2020 Street Preservation Asphalt Seal Coat Project to Holbrook Asphalt Company and authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed and agreement upon receipt and approval of final contract documents.
We have a motion by Diana, second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then item E is to consider awarding the 2018-2020 Street Preservation Crack Seal Project to Top Job LLC and authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed and agreement upon receipt of final contract documents.
To make this in quick, this is the black stuff that you see painted in the cracks on the road. We have about 12 tons of material in this year's contract that we've estimated. We'll go around selecting the roads that'll be done and continue to do that for the next 3 years on additional road projects.
Any questions for Marty?
Yeah, I've got a couple, Marty. I'm pleased to see Top Job had the little bit. I noticed that they have, is that an oversight, do we think, or is that?
So that it is a little bit unique that they didn't put something in there. What you find with crack sealing is that they put it all in their unit price. So sometimes we see this in seal coats, we see it in crack sealing. They work it into that unit price, so it doesn't really, it's based on the ton of material that's placed. They'll send a crew down here. They if they get into some difficult, like if we're doing Pleasant Grove Boulevard, that's going to be a little bit probably extra cost. I don't know what they're going to do in that situation. Most of the roads that we're discussing in this project were all just local roads in developments, residential neighborhoods, so maybe they didn't feel like they needed to have a mobilization cost in that, and they just put it all into that unit price.
And the other question I had was this 22,000 annual price for.
So that's for 12 tons of material. So this is a unit price bid, which means if we do 13 tons, we'll pay a little bit more. If we do 11 tons, we'll do a little bit less. What you'll see is every year we'll come back and add through change order the additional amounts that we're needing. So next year it might be 20 tons, and the next year it might be 5. Likely, we're hoping to increase it because we need more.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, Mayor, that we award the 2018-2020 Street Preservation Crack Seal Project to Top Job LLC and authorize the mayor to sign the notice.
Second.
Motion by Ben, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, we'll go on to discussing the calendar for October 3rd. We'll have a victim advocate update. And then we'll be looking at the standard spec drawings update and 45th South Main Agreement, 45 South Main Agreement. Anything you want to chime in on that?
The 45 South Main project is the Knowlton construction project. It's basically complete. You can see it behind us in the parking lot. Prior to their development, the council had agreed to provide some cross-parking access and access easements The agreement just solidifies where those are going to be and provides a documentation for recordation so that they're preserved.
Okay.
And there,
Else?
yeah, there's one other item that I just talked to Kathy about right before the meeting. We have our contract on the elevator with St. John Properties that we need to execute. It is a discounted deal that they're doing for us, getting a lot of volunteer labor and reduced costs on materials to help save the city. We're estimating about $100,000 on the construction. So
It's good.
we had our big kickoff a while ago, but this is the contract to tie that off.
Okay. And that's it for the agenda. Libby, do you have anything for us? Okay. Denise? Nothing? No. Scott?
Just a reminder, no meeting next week. It's our fourth Tuesday, so October 3rd will be our next one.
Thank you. Tina? Okay. Marty?
Just 900 South, moving along. We're hoping paving in the next 2 weeks will be done. And then 700 South, just be aware, we've got paving happening in the next 2 weeks as well on the north half of the road. And due to the narrowness of the railroad tracks, we're likely going to have to shut down to one lane for probably a week to 2 weeks. We'll be working that with the fire department, but access through that area, we recommend a different go a different direction if you can. It'll be pretty messy there for a while trying to get through that area, so.
Okay. Anything else, Marty? Okay. Steve, is that right?
Brian.
Ryan, sorry.
Brian.
Oh, sorry. Brian. Okay.
We can't avoid 7 South, so we're going to be driving it.
Got to do it. That's where you guys are located. Okay. Dion? Ben?
Yeah, just a quick note, that's, I guess, my microphone. There's a town hall meeting at the doTERRA Theater on Thursday night by one of our county commissioners, the chair of our county commission, Bill Lee. Certainly an event that would be worth attending.
Okay. Lynn?
Nothing.
Sid?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Eric? Diana? Kathy? All right. No plats.
Did you have anything?
We reopen on Friday, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
Pulling our hair out and driving as, just losing everything as we go, but that's the plan.
But the Tyler guy said that he loved the tile.
He's doing a good job. They're all doing a good job. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I think we had two motions there. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.